the new year, and you've probably heard of the phrase New Year, New Beginnings. It's that time of the year when we set new resolutions in order to become the best version of ourselves and also want to do more in order to achieve our goals. But research shows that 88% of people fail to keep their New Year resolutions just within the first 2 weeks of the year. And the number one reason why this happens is because we set unrealistic, larger than life goals, or we lose the motivation to stay productive and do the consistent work required in order to reach our goals. But here's the good news. If you're watching this, I promise that by the end of this video, you'll have all the necessary tools you need to break out of your lazy era and step into the success you deserve in 2025. So hi you beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sim, and today we're going to talk about productivity hacks, mindset shifts and habits that will set you up for success in 2025. So if you don't know this about me yet, I have been creating content on Instagram from the past 2 years while also pursuing a full-time PhD and working as an academic, and now I'm creating YouTube videos. I also happen to stay in a place where you have to do all your household chores yourself, which of course is a blessing. But what I'm trying to say here is that I juggle a lot and I believe that I do it quite efficiently. It is this balance that helps me stay on track with my goals, but also provides that much needed work-life balance you need to maintain your well-being. So what I'm going to share with you today is of course also something that I've implemented in my own life, but will also have a lot of research-based evidence on how you can stay productive and give your best in 2025. So as usual, go grab a drink and a notebook because we're going to dive into real actionable steps that you can take right after you finish watching this video. These are today's video milestones, and let's start by talking about the mindset shift that you need for productivity. Like in any journey, the key takeaway that I'd like to share is the importance of shifting your mindset towards productivity and truly defining what it means for you. Economically, productivity is defined as the ratio of outputs over inputs, which makes it a measure of efficiency. In personal terms, what this definition implies is that the busier we are, the more productive we are. However, this mindset can actually lead to being less productive. A more meaningful definition, I feel, comes from Charles Duhigg in his book Smarter, Faster, Better, where he defines productivity as making certain choices in certain ways, which transforms us from merely being busy to actually genuinely being productive. This definition actually allows us to be doing more of the things that we actually love. So then, ultimately, productivity is aligning your actions with your long-term goals and values so that you feel more sense of fulfillment and satisfaction and joy when you're doing something. So then the mindset shift that we need to make around productivity is to do more of the things that make us feel good about ourselves and our work. In other words, when we feel good, we are more productive. And this mindset shift has also been beautifully highlighted in Ali Abdal's Feel Good Productivity book, where he talks about how feeling good boosts our energy and we're able to get more done. So when we feel good, our bodies feel good hormones such as oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, and dopamine get released all together, opening up our brains to receive and retain more information, to also feel more motivated, and as a result, we're able to get more done and feel more productive. But now you would be thinking, how can you actually implement this mindset shift into your life? And you can do this by asking yourself this one question. Is what I'm doing something I enjoy? And if not, is there an aspect of fun that I can introduce to make it more enjoyable for myself? For example, when I'm doing the transcripts and coding for my research, it is an incredibly boring task, and so I make it a point to switch on music that I actually enjoy listening to. I also sometimes promise myself a treat at the end of the task that I'm doing. For example, grabbing a cup of coffee or watching a movie at the end of this task. And this just makes the whole process much more enjoyable than at least it was before. Apart from this, another mindset shift that has really helped me in staying productive is reframing my failures. Now, if you want to be a high achiever, or you already are, and you want to feel productive all throughout the day and want to just keep going at your tasks, I feel you. You might somewhat say that you're a perfectionist, and when you face a setback in your life, you feel really disappointed and get a feeling that you might never achieve the goals that you've set for yourself. But let me tell you a really interesting thing. There's a huge difference between being a perfectionist and striving for perfection. And research reveals that people who actually strive for perfectionism have a higher life satisfaction. And the reason for this is that people who strive for perfectionism enjoy the process towards the success, and as as a result, they feel more motivated and they do not let setbacks affect their productivity. They also showcased less self-blaming behaviors and were motivated to work towards their goals in a very positive manner. So when the mindset is towards striving for perfectionism rather than being a perfectionist, you also kind of develop coping mechanisms that help you reframe your failures as stepping stones rather than viewing them as complete setbacks. In words of Mark Rober, who worked at NASA for several years and conducted research on understanding the relation between success and failures, concluded in his study that how we frame our failures highly affects our success rate. So the next time you feel stuck or you faced a setback, ask yourself, what if you could approach your learning process without the worry or fear of failure? Imagine if you could view everything from this angle, how much you would learn each day and how closer you would be to your goals, and most importantly, how your productivity would increase day by day. So now that we've shifted our mindset to understanding that true productivity is not about being busy, but about doing more meaningful work, we can now move on to the next step, which is talking about productivity hacks that can help you stay on track and also enjoy the work that you're doing with less stress. The first step is to align your short-term and long-term goals with your values, making it much easier and more enjoyable to work towards it. For long-term planning, what I use is a really interesting method called the Odyssey plan. This method was developed by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans in their book Designing Your Life, in which they ask you to answer these 3 questions. In the first question, they ask you to focus on your current path and write down in as much detail as possible where would your life be 5 years down the lane if you continued on the same path. In the second question, they ask you to focus on the alternative path. So here, write down in as much detail as possible what would your life look like 5 years down the lane if you chose a completely different path. Now in the third question, they ask you to focus on what they call the radical path. Now think about what would your life look 5 years down the lane if you took a completely different path, but also if things like money, society, and what people say was completely irrelevant. Now it might be that your current path aligns completely with your goals at least 5 years down the lane, but if not, then this exercise is something that will reveal that to you, and I highly recommend it for planning your long-term goals. So now that you've aligned your long-term goals with your values, we also want to focus on your daily goals and how you can achieve them. Here's when the NICE method comes into play, and this is also something that I learned in the book Feel Good Productivity. In NICE, N stands for near term. That encourages you to only concentrate on the immediate steps that you can take today to reach closer to your goals. I stands for input based. So think about what are the actions that you can take today to get closer to your goals. For example, if your goal is to create a YouTube channel, then maybe you could research on the topics that you're going to present your videos on. Or maybe you could focus on getting your equipment or anything that you could do immediately. C stands for controllable. So focus on making your goals as realistic as possible and something that you can completely control. And E finally stands for energizing. So again, focus on making your work fun if it isn't already. The result of having both Odyssey plan and your NICE goals in place is that your smaller goals will be aligned to your larger goals, and as a result, you will feel that you're accomplishing your goals on a daily basis. Now, the next hack is called Covey's 4 quadrants and is something you can use to manage your time effectively. This is honestly the best technique that I've ever come across. Covey's 4 quadrants is basically a system that helps you categorize all your tasks into urgency and importance. This way, you can clearly see where your time is going and then also prioritize it accordingly. Now let's talk about what each of these quadrants is all about. Quadrant 1 is where you put all your urgent and important tasks. These are the tasks that require your immediate attention, such as a crisis situation or your last minute deadlines. For example, for a PhD student, this could be something like submitting your draft paper or preparing for a last minute conference. And for example, as a content creator, this could be something like a technical issue that comes before you're posting a brand collaboration. Now, while these tasks are urgent and require immediate attention, spending a lot of time here basically can lead to a lot of stress and burnout. So the goal here is to minimize the tasks that we put into quadrant 1 as much as possible so that we avoid running into emergency situations. Next is quadrant 2, where we put non-urgent but important tasks. This is my favorite quadrant because this is where the long-term success can be built. Here we focus on things which are not urgent but are very important, such as personal growth, building relationships, and self-care. For example, again, for a PhD student, this could involve having a timeline ready for your submissions already, or having a few abstracts ready for your conferences, and also engaging in collaborations. For content creators, on the other hand, this could involve things like planning your content on a monthly basis, or learning new skills like editing and public speaking. When we spend more time in quadrant 2, we also prevent having a lot of tasks put in quadrant 1. Spending time in quadrant 2 also means that you're working on your quality of life because you're engaging in activities that enhance your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. Now we have quadrant 3, which is urgent but not important tasks. Now this is where it gets tricky because a lot of tasks in quadrant 3 might feel like they're urgent, but they're not necessarily important or align with your long-term goals. This can include things like answering non-important emails or going to meetings that do not align with your long-term objectives, and also always being available for other people. For me as a content creator, this could mean replying to every email or replying to the comments, even if it's affecting my workflow. And as a PhD student, it could mean getting caught up in admin tasks which do not require my immediate attention. The key to the tasks in quadrant 3 is to either delegate it to someone else or to simply say no. It's important to keep in mind that if something is not serving your long-term goal here, then you do not have to immediately spend any time on it. Practice differentiating what is important for you and what might also be important for someone else instead. And finally, there's a quadrant 4, which is non-urgent and non-important tasks, also known as time wasters. These are activities that are neither important nor urgent. For example, scrolling endlessly on social media or binge watching your television is something that would ideally fall into this quadrant. Now, this does not mean that we should not relax, but the point here is that the relaxation should be intentional. For example, rather than mindlessly scrolling on social media and making myself feel bad about my life, I'd rather watch something that's more substantial, or read a book, or take a walk in the park, or even engage in some self-care. Spending a lot of time in quadrant 4 can actually lead to a lot more dissatisfaction with life. And so the answer here is to engage with things that you find purposeful and also offer deep relaxation to you. So effective time management in this case would mean spending as much time as you can in your quadrant 2, which would reduce the likelihood of emergencies from quadrant 1. They would also reduce interruptions from quadrant 3 and will minimize the need for mindless escapes from quadrant 4. The next technique is called the Zeigarnik effect. It is a psychological concept discovered by Bluma Zeigarnik in the 1920s. She found out that waiters could remember the orders while still in progress, but once completed, they forgot them. This made her to believe that our brains naturally remember unfinished tasks rather than completed ones. And when it comes to productivity, this is a really useful technique for overcoming procrastination. One reason why we procrastinate is because big tasks can seem overwhelming, and so it's really hard to even get started. The Zeigarnik effect suggests that when you start a task, even a small step towards it can create a mental open loop. This loop stays open in your mind, wanting you to finish that task. So by starting, even in a small way, you trick the brain to get interested in that task. This reduces the feeling of feeling stuck and procrastinating because, like I said, your brain doesn't like unfinished tasks. So the trick to stop procrastinating is taking that first step, no matter how tiny it is. For example, if you need to write a paper, instead of stressing about the whole thing, just write the first sentence. If you are procrastinating about content creation, just start by setting up your camera. Once you begin, your brain's natural motivation kicks in and it becomes easier to keep going. So the Zeigarnik effect uses the discomfort of unfinished business to actually make you finish the task. So the next time you procrastinate, start small, let the mental loop open, and let your brain's natural desire to finish the task take place. Another technique that really helps to overcome procrastination is time blocking. Time blocking is essentially setting blocks of time to achieve different tasks. So rather than having a vague to-do list, you actually set up a specific time for accomplishing a particular task, which makes it more manageable and achievable. Like I previously also mentioned, that procrastination happens when we feel that the task at hand is either too big or is unorganized. Time blocking in this case helps you dedicate a time slot so that you can focus on that particular task at that particular time. For example, instead of just putting in your calendar, write a thesis chapter, you can also set aside a specific time slot such as 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. to write a particular section of your thesis. By narrowing your focus this much, you reduce the decision fatigue and it's less likely that you will procrastinate that task. So now that we've talked about some powerful techniques to boost your productivity, I'm now going to talk about certain habits that you can incorporate in your day-to-day life to become a more productive person. So number one habit that you can incorporate is having a defined morning and night routine by what I call the success sandwich. Let me explain what the success sandwich is. So imagine that the morning routine is the first slice of bread that sets the tone for a productive day. You can do things like exercise, which lifts your spirit and mood, or you can go for things like meditation. Journaling also does wonders when you have to set your intentions for the day and move forward with a very positive mindset. Now, the night routine is the other slice of the bread. It's about reflecting on your day, winding down, and getting ready for tomorrow. Reflecting is also a great way to focus on your wins of the day and also focus on the things that you can improve on. One tip here is to try and read before you go to bed, because this automatically tells your brain that it's time to rest. So when you put these routines together, it creates a sandwich that can boost both your productivity and your well-being. So the success sandwich technique actually wants you to start your day with energy and end it with clarity so that you avoid burnout altogether. Studies also show that people with more consistent morning and evening routines have more chances of being productive throughout the day. So by intentionally bookending the day, you're not just setting up your goals, but also looking after your mental health. Now, after starting and ending your day with a proper routine, the next step is to track your progress and embrace progress without perfection. The key is to remember that progress, not perfection, is the goal. The journey to productivity isn't always a straight line, and tracking your progress can really help you stay motivated throughout your journey. It allows you to notice how far you've come in your journey, but also helps you see the areas that you really want to still work on. Research from University of Chicago shows that people who actually notice the small incremental progress are more likely to reach their goals, because tracking your progress leads to more motivation. When you track your small wins, you tap into what Teresa Amable of Harvard Business School calls the progress principle. Acknowledging even the smallest progress can really boost your motivation and productivity. Seeing progress, even if it's small, gives you a sense of accomplishment, and therefore you have more courage to keep on going. But remember that it is important to be kind to yourself, especially when things don't go your way. There will be days when you don't hit your goals, and that is completely okay. Productivity is not about perfection, but instead it's about commitment to keep going even when there are setbacks. Research also shows that practicing resilience and positive self-talk increases your motivation, and you're more likely to reach your goals. So forgive yourself for any imperfections and always try and keep a positive mindset when going through your day. The next important step is to understand the value of taking time off and to rest with purpose. While it may actually seem counterintuitive, but rest is an integral part of maintaining your long-term productivity. But resting is one thing and resting with purpose is another. Resting with purpose means taking breaks that genuinely recharge you. Whether it's a full day off or taking breaks throughout your day, the key is to rest with intention. So instead of mindlessly scrolling through social media or binge watching your TV, which can actually leave you feeling more drained, think about including activities that make you feel more relaxed and rejuvenated. Research also shows that you should spend your time relaxing doing things which are not at all related to your work, and they in turn also boost your creativity and your productivity. A study published in the Journal of Occupational Health Psychology found out that detaching yourself from work and doing something completely different helps prevent burnt out and improves your overall job performance. Another tip is to spend some time in nature, because it helps in reducing your stress and clearing your mind. A study done by University of Michigan found out that even spending few minutes in nature helps improve your focus and reduces your stress hormones. So whether it's a walk, a hike, or just sitting in the garden, I highly recommend sitting in nature, which will make you feel rejuvenated, and then you will be ready to give your best at work. So these tips have really helped me in staying on track with my goals, and I really hope they help you in doing the same in 2025. Now to the last bit, where I talk about the immediate step that you can take right after you watch this video. So for this video, I want you to create your own Odyssey plan, and there are 3 plans that I want you to write about. Plan 1 is the path where you continue with what you're currently doing. Ask yourself, what would your life look like 5 years down the lane if you were to continue on the same trajectory? You can include things like your personal goals, your relationships, your lifestyle choices, and your career when you're answering this question. In plan 2, ask yourself, what if you made a major change in a key area of your life? This could be a career switch, or moving to a different country, or following a passion you've always had. Now when you follow this path, ask yourself, what would your life look like 5 years down the lane? Now in plan 3, ask yourself, what if money, people, and social expectations were irrelevant? What would your life look like then? What is your most adventurous version of the next 5 years? Where would you live? What would you do? And what would your life look like? Now that you've written your 3 plans, I want you to reflect and answer which plan excites you the most, which plan seems more realistic, and what are the steps that you can take right now to move towards any of these futures. Also feel free to share your Odyssey plan in the comments below. I would love to see how you're envisioning your future. And that's it, and thank you so much for watching this video till the end. Before you implement these steps, please remember that the goal here is progress and not perfection. Remember that as you leave behind the doubts of 2024 and step into your power and success in 2025. I hope that you found these productivity tips helpful, and if you did, please let me know in the comments below. I will read and respond to each and every one of you. If you also have any other feedback for me, please do let me know. It really helps me provide more value to you guys. And if you have any productivity hack or things that you've done to get yourself out of a rut, please do let me know. I'd love to know your experiences. Also, don't forget to check out the links in my description below where you find more resources, as well as the link to my Instagram where I also post regularly. I'm cheering on you and also thinking about you. So please do let me know how you're going, and I'll see you in the next video.